Okay, folks, I'm using a little bit different microphone. I tried with another video to use my earbuds and they don't work that well. Again, my name is Tim Mailer, meteorologist. A quick introduction here. I want to go over the tropical formation probabilities here. And I'm going to spend a little time explaining this and then I'll go into what we're looking at here. You may already have seen this multiple times, but I want to go over this. Let me bring up the pen here so I can draw on this. Get that off of there. All right. So on the left, we have the observed. You have these. Well, let's start again. This is the Google Weather Lab cyclones preview page, right? And the Google DeepMind was the premier model last year for track, genesis, and accuracy in forecasting tropical cyclone development. Okay, it it was the best performing model last year. So we don't always rely on that. Okay, but we also want to, at the same time, compare them to other models. And I don't want to exclude the GFS necessarily, the Global Forecast System model, right, from this forecast. But it has a tendency to spin up systems that, especially in the Caribbean here, and I'll go over that shortly, that let me go back. It tends to bring up vorticity and spins in the atmosphere that never end up occurring. It has a bias towards that. We all know that. But people still post hurricane formation next 7 days in the Gulf. I mean, come on, let's be real here. It's first of all, it's not even June yet. Could it happen? Yes. Will it happen? Almost certainly not. Okay, so the most likely chance of formation really is out here in the next several days. Okay, out in the West Pacific, which we're not concerned about for us, but for the people out here, South Korea, Japan, potential impacts here. Now, going back and explaining this a little bit more for people who don't know, we have some Google DeepMind experimental models up here, and the weather next graph, which is another Google DeepMind experimental model. All right, let me change this timer. Won't let me do it, but I got to register this one. Going back to the pointer here, and here's the European ensemble and high res model. Okay, and down here, what we have ensemble markers. All right, if we take those off, if you can't tell, I love explaining this, guys. See the little markers for the different models, like the oranges, East European ensemble, yellows, high res, weather next graph, weather next gen, and their experimental model. So this is the model that's optimized for cyclones, okay? And that's what it says there. Tracks, see the tracks here? These are forecast tracks for this system. It looks like it's already formed, all right, because we're at the beginning of this run, which is, it's already past this time period. So let's just say 12 UTC, all right, 12 hours out. May already have a tropical storm out here, and maybe I'll go to a satellite loop and show you that. You have your ensemble tracks as well, right? There's your Here's your tracks. Take your ensemble tracks off. And you can also put the cones in here. Okay, cone of uncertainty. So we already have a system out here, right? Because we take these off. Low pressure already exists. So depression is already out there. Or low pressure. We don't know if a depression is there yet. I have to look at that. 25 knot winds, probably maybe a weak depression at this point. Then we have your wind speed colors. Okay. So you see the colors here denoting the wind speeds. And that's only available with whatever model we're looking at here. You know what I'm saying? So experimental, or the next gen, or the next graph, ensemble, high res. All right. Enough about that. This is a quick explanation. So to take the wind speed colors off, put the cones back on, take the cones off. All right. Put the rest of the models back on here. And most of this chatter here is the European ensemble. okay? And the ensemble has the dots, right? 51 members. All right, so not much activity here modeled wise in the Gulf, Caribbean, Eastern Pacific, some all along the intertropical convergence zone, not surprising, and out west here, the Western Pacific. The Western Pacific never really has its hurricane season. Tropical cyclone season is year round, although there are some distinct low points in the activity cycle. Um, there is, it's a, because the basin is so large, there's and the warm waters here, just a lot of area for things to form. Okay, so more details on that, but that's that there. So going into Thursday, maybe a low pressure developing here in the just south of Thailand. Now we have a tropical storm here moving up towards China, South Korea. Zoom this in a little bit. And I'm sorry if this is a little bit jerky, but I'm on a laptop and it's not the fastest thing in the world, so I'm doing my best here. All the models it look to agree that it could be a hurricane at this point. Okay, more or less, right? So move through time with this. Some want to make it stronger than others, but you get the idea. They're going to have a formation here. There may be a low pressure here in the Indian Ocean. Looks like. Now going back to the home base here. Zoom in a little bit. And you see all the dots here, okay? And this is June 2nd. So um, today is, what day is today? The 27th. So roughly 5 days from now. You see the European high res wants to develop a low pressure here, like off the Caribbean coast, right? And there could be, and I guess going back a little bit, we have a lot of disturbed weather in the Gulf moving into the southeast repeatedly, right into the Texas area, along the Gulf Coast in general. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that we could get a storm form here, okay? Because you got to spin up vorticity. If you manage to get low enough shear values, you could get a relatively weak system form in this area. You see out here in the Eastern Pacific, a lot of dots, the green, weather next gen, and the European ensemble here wants to maybe develop a low here in the Gulf along the along the Yucatan Peninsula here. All right, so man, I love talking about the tropics. I don't know, it's just the science behind this is pretty incredible. But you see, we get into about roughly a week from now, let's just say, with the next graph model, we have kind of a clustering of different model solutions that maybe favor something developing in the central, in the Eastern Pacific, if you will, generally between Mexico and Hawaii. Okay. And you have this like low pressure, like hanging off the coast here of Mexico, the Yucatan Peninsula. This could cause problems if we get a weak low pressure just hangs out here and we get heavy rains on mountainous terrain. Not discounting that, but not seeing anything for the continental U.S. We have different dots, ensemble members all over the place. All right. In general, it really doesn't develop this system out in the Eastern Pacific. We got more ensemble members and different members of different models showing all over the place. Eastern Pacific, so definitely disturbed weather out here. And we got that remaining low just hanging off there. Uh, Mexican coast, Yucatan Peninsula. I wouldn't be surprised if we get the Central American gyre spinning up here, and then maybe I'll go into that as well. All right. Well, and what that is, that's a broad level of low pressure that forms in this area here sometimes, and you get this trade winds flowing this way, trade winds flowing this way, and you get this broad circulation here, and you get little vorticity areas of spin maybe form, and if they kind of break off here, lack of a better word, and go up into the Gulf. We've seen that happen past year, so that could happen, right? But no indication of that right now. All right, so now this is June 7th, right? So roughly 10 days from now or so. Just general disturbed weather here, and but nothing really concerning at this point. Okay, and we get to the end of this, June 11th. Just a lot of different dots at this point, showing different model outputs. Let's go back to the Western Pacific, right? And that storm is pretty much that we saw earlier is pretty much gone and out into the northern Pacific Ocean here, and that's about it, really. Okay, so and we lose some of the models as we get toward the extended, because some of them don't go out that far. So as far as the Atlantic Ocean, way out here in the far eastern Atlantic, not expecting any development this time of year anyway. And maybe I'll dedicate a portion of a video for just climatology and go over the favorite areas in different months, things like that. I know this is a long explanation here, but I hope it's useful in understanding a little bit about the reality of this, right? And I think what I'm going to do next is go on to the GFS model on a different page and show you what it's showing compared to all the rest of these. Okay. And I like to do it side by side, but I just don't have the space on the screen. I don't want to muddy it up. But you get the idea when I show it to you. All right. So that's coming up next. Okay, so I finally got access to the Weatherfront app on in Windows desktop, and that's what I'm using to display the GFS model here. You have your 10-meter wind and 500 millibar vorticity and low pressure centers associated low pressure surface features, right? So just a little bit explanation here, if you permit me. You can make out the vorticity here. Let me change this color a little bit. Let's see here. Red. Not that. That better? I guess. So vorticity out here. You got some more vorticity, like spin in the atmosphere, right? So what you'll see down here, this is the GFS. Like I said, I was going to compare the GFS to other models here. See, it has these areas of vorticity down here. And when we get towards Saturday of this week, it wants to develop a low pressure off the eastern seaboard here along a frontal boundary here. I don't know if this will necessarily be tropical in nature. Definitely not up here in the northeast. My brother's going to be up here. I'm going to have to evaluate this forecast again. Looks kind of nasty in the morning there. The low pressure moves offshore by the afternoon hours, right? And you have this low pressure, weak low pressure, um, just going as part of that southern portion of this here. It doesn't look like it's going to be tropical in nature here, but we'll keep an eye on that, right? So let's go back down to the Caribbean and Central America and Gulf of Mexico. You see the GFS wants to spin up a low pressure here around the 2nd of June. I'm not saying this is going to happen. This is a comparison to other models that we showed on the Google DeepMind analysis, right? None of them showed anything developing here. You see, it wants to develop a strong system in the Gulf, move it up into the continental U.S. as a, if this was to come to pass, which I don't think it will, a Cat 1 hurricane around the 8th, which is, you know, 10 days from now. Okay. Now, let's compare it to, like, say, the European, see what it does. See how I can get this to load. All right. This site is acting kind of strange here. So Let me do the 10-meter wind here, see if it loads. And yeah, it's a little bit slow to load here. So, and it doesn't show exactly the same thing. But what I can show you is whether low pressure is going to develop here. It's just behind on what it's displaying. Okay, bear with me here. This is through the 30th. You have your low pressure center off here, right? But showing nothing here on the map. Let's go back, try to fix this. I'm not sure what the deal is here. Surface. All right, so surface low pressures offshore here. Now the European does want to develop this low off here, but I don't think it's a big concern. It could give us a concern for the southeast coast here with some heavy rainfall maybe, but other than that, not a lot to talk about. We get to the 31st, first, second, multiple areas of low pressure maybe off the southeast coast. Nothing very strong, right? Now I'm going to go back one model run here because this one goes a little further out, okay? So we'll just start from around the first into this fourth. The European does want to maybe develop a weak low off the southeast coast here, which is not out of the realm of possibility. I'd say it's a more likely scenario. And remember, I talked about the Central American gyre here, right down here. I'll draw this again. There's this broad cyclonic flow here, but it's not spinning up a vorticity like the GFS wants to do. Okay. And it just sits there and nothing happens. So when you compare those two, you see what I'm talking about, right? So, I think that's a pretty good comparison. I hope that makes sense and debunks some of the stuff that people are putting out there about, major hurricane or something. Don't listen to them, folks. Listen to the experts. Not even Tim Mailer. National Hurricane Center is not outlooking anything. And I will go over that here next just to show you. All right. So I was putting together this and realized I didn't have any video here. So for the Atlantic, this is their National Hurricane Center official outlook. Not showing anything, not forecasting any tropical cyclone activity within the next 7 days. Okay. Pacific, same thing here. Central Pacific, um, hurricane season hasn't started yet. Okay. So, I felt this video was really important to kind of bring people back to earth about what might be happening here. We don't. I I guess there's a lot of hype out there, and I wanted to kind of debunk that. And I'm not putting down people who are putting that stuff out there, but I think it's misinformed. And I think people want the most accurate information possible. Am I saying we won't get a tropical system in the Caribbean? Definitely possibility, but a strong one, not very likely. Okay. Um, and weak systems can have a lot of impacts too, heavy rainfall, things like that. So we'll just keep an eye on that, right? And, you know, you have time to get prepared for whatever hurricane season might bring. Now's the time, right? So thank you for trusting in me. And I'm going to be putting out another climatology video, kind of going over where favorable formation areas are this time of year, in June, July, time frames like that, and the number of systems that actually form, things like that, hurricanes, tropical storms. And so that will help give you an idea about the reality of a strong system forming this time of year, especially in the Atlantic. Pacific, we have a better chance, right? Because there's a lot more ocean out there, and the conditions are more favorable right now. So that's all I got, guys. Hope you have a good Wednesday. God bless you all. Have a great day.